In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step the process of designing and preparing a custom neon sign for CNC milling. If you're struggling with how to design an awesome neon sign and prepare it for assembly, this video is going to be the first of many steps you'll need to successfully create your custom neon sign. What's up everybody, I'm Nick Gonzalez, also known as Lex Neon, and this is the Hustle Factory. First, head on over to our customizer at luxneonartgallery.com. Under Customs, Premium Custom Neon Signs. Choose your desired message and type it into the provided field. In this case, I'm going to write Hustle Factory. I like this font, however, this one looks cool for me. And I'm an icy blue guy on this one today. And I already know that I need my sign at around 31 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Now that I've created my sign, chosen my font and color, as well as my size, I'm going to take a screenshot of this information and take it over to Adobe Illustrator. On my Mac, I'm going to type Command-Shift-4, and that'll give me my screenshot tool. I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to head on over to Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to create a new document. And in this case, I'm going to create the document to scale on a 48 by 96, which is the size of my CNC bed. Then I'm here in Adobe Illustrator, I'm going to create a rectangle identical to my intended size. Here I'm going to choose the rectangle tool and the shortcut letter M. I'm going to type in my parameters here at 31 by 7. And now you notice our rectangle is quite larger than our graphic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a black stroke so that I can see what my parameter size is. I need to fit this graphic within this box here. So I'm going to scale it, holding down Shift and expanding the graphic. I'm going to scale the graphic up so I can touch corner to corner. Now, if you guys are a little bit more precise about your size and you guys are confined to maybe a space on the wall, then just go edge to edge. There's going to be a factor. It's either your width is going to dictate your height or your height is going to dictate your width. In this case, I'm pretty happy with where I am there. I'm just about touching all four corners. I'm going to select these two objects and I'm going to clip it. In Mac, it's Control 7, and on your PC, it's Command 7. Now that I have this graphic to scale, I'm going to select the rectangle and the graphic itself, and I'm going to clip it so as to have less distractions. Command 7 is what I'm going to use for my clipping tool. Otherwise, you can go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Also, if you're working on a PC, Control 7 would be your shortcut keys. So I'm going to reduce this graphics opacity by about 50%. 45 is just fine. And then I'm going to lock this object. Lock, selection. Otherwise, it's Command 2, the shortcut key. Now I'm going to select the pen tool, which is here in your toolbar. Otherwise, it's the shortcut letter P. Let me zoom in. I'm going to run the first path outline. The first path outline is pretty important. I'm going to explain why. First off, if you see your path continuing, you hit enter to commit to that path. I'm going to select my black arrow tool. I use the shortcut letter V. I'm going to choose this path and I'm going to give it its 5.5 millimeter stroked width value. This is the exact width of your neon LED. Also, if you notice here, this is not how your CNC is going to operate. Your CNC, when the bit lands to the end of this path, it will give you the other half of its diameter. Its radial value will continue to the end of its path. So we need to imitate that by going to our stroke options and rounding the caps, rounding the corners. That's going to give us a more realistic view of how your CNC is going to perform through this path. I'm going to continue building my graphic up. If you guys aren't good with the pen tool, now's your time to get some mastery in. I'm going to continue. Here in this U, you'll notice that your LED is not going to fold the way this is looking. So here, I'm going to overshoot here just a tad. I'm going to show you guys what's going to happen next. Here, I'm going to use the shortcut Command, otherwise Control on your PC, to change from my pen tool to my wide arrow tool. I'm going to hold it down as I make this small operation here. If you guys notice, I clicked on this anchor point and it gave me this round wheel. This wheel is going to let us round this corner to something a little bit more realistic for the neon to travel around. As you can see, I can bend here. It might not be as realistic as I want it to be, so I'm going to select these two newly formed anchor points and pull up and get as close as I can to that trace value. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with this U. Using my pan tool to move on. The S is the same way. This neon is going to get cut here, and a new neon is going to be developed here with a jump cable connecting the two. We will get into that in another video. I'm holding down Shift so I don't run into my other path, and like I said, you guys, I've been doing the pen tool for many years, but this is your time to get accustomed to it. Holding down the Shift key, continuing here. I have a graphic design decision to make now, because the last thing I want is my engineer to be wrestling with this small part of the stem of the T. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break a couple rules here. I'm going to get to about there, hit enter to commit to my path. Going to run this large stem of the T. Oh, sorry. If it runs away from you, just hit the space bar to go back. I'm going to hit enter to commit that path. I'm not really liking that T. I'm not feeling this one. So I'm going to hold down the command key. That's going to let me come out here and make us a bit different. I guess the T is going to be the same, but this L, I'm going to run this L alongside of it. I just don't want them to touch. Let me see here. I'm going to drag this over a little. I don't know how much I like that, you guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag this over, get a little closer to the S. You see I have this orphan stem coming out here, so I'm going to use my direct selection tool, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to scoot it over. Back to my black arrow tool, using the V key, and I think I'll be either okay here, or I might be able to connect the two there. Let me continue with my E, and then I'm going to zoom out to see overall what it looks like. Here's my E coming up. The E can play tricks on you guys, so if you need to practice a little bit, don't get down about yourselves. I think I'm okay. I think I'm fine with this. Perhaps I make these two paths a little bit more parallel. Run this down a little. What do you guys think? Anyway, moving along. I'm gonna come over here. All these different techniques apply to the same. For this F, gonna go a little quicker here, you guys, so we have a long way to go. This F is probably gonna play tricks on us that we're not gonna like, because now it looks like two T's running underneath each other. One thing I'm not gonna do is give my technician this headache here, because connecting this, turning this line is going to add time and frustration to our manufacturing process. So my idea is holding down the command key, I'm going to squeeze this in, and as long as we're representing an F, unless you have a picky customer and they specifically ask for that F to be curved with that feature here, then I think you're going to be all right. Moving on to the A. The A is very similar to the U, in which we're going to have to overshoot that corner and create somewhat of our own corner. So I'll overshoot it right around here. I'll reset my anchor point tool. I'll come in and make my curve. I'm going to hit enter to commit to that path. Then I'm going to hold down the command key, which gives me my white arrow tool. Then I'm going to drag that down and give myself a more realistic of a neon curve. Make some adjustments here. I don't like that snapping. Let me go to view. I think it's snapping to these glyphs. Let's see now. It's still snapping. Let me go back to my view. I'm gonna take that snapping off. You wanna more of a freestyle. You wanna have more of a freestyle capability when you're creating path outlines and working with your pen tool. That's a pretty lumpy C. Let me know if you guys get a lumpy C like that. Usually either A, I'll wrestle with it for a little bit, and if I can't get it, I'll just start all over. It's not a big deal. Patience is key. Trust me, I've been very patient over the years. Moving right along. Guys, I also use my middle mouse button when I want to pan quickly. I either use the space bar or the middle mouse wheel, scroll wheel, whatever you guys call it. Moving right along. These guys are a little bit easy. I know you guys see that O. The O is going to give us a very similar challenge as the U and the A. Let me commit to that. Zoom in a little bit just because I like to be a little closer, especially when I have to make adjustments in graphic design decisions like these. Now here I am coming about here. I'll shoot it up to there. Then I'm going to click here to reset my anchor point. Now we're going to get another challenge here. I'm going to show you. All right, here I'm going to commit to this path outline. Holding down the command key, getting my white arrow tool. Do you notice the wheel isn't there? If the wheel isn't there, is because your angle here in which your anchor point is turning is below an acute value. So we need to move it until we get its very least a Q value. Now there you go, we got it. Now we can pull this down and give ourselves a much more realistic neon curve there. Let me pull this up a little. I still need to represent an O. All right, we'll look at that in a moment. Looks like I'm gonna get away with it. This R, in my experience, coming down this angle and coming back up leads for a really strange area here. So I'm gonna play a quick trick on it. Create my stem for my R, commit to that path. Then I'm gonna find the right place, and this is where your graphic design skill set is going to come in handy. These are the decisions that a graphic designer, an accomplished graphic designer, or if you guys are aspiring graphic designers, this is where you need to know that you can make graphic design decisions like this. However, you cannot steer too far away from your design intent. So if I can't make a realistic R, then I'm gonna have to start over or make some different decisions. But I believe I can do it. I believe I got this one. I'm gonna overshoot this. I'm gonna reset this anchor point. I'm gonna try to score this Y right away using my pen, using my space key. I'm gonna try to get this Y right away, continuing from the R. I'm resetting that. I'll be getting back to both of these two anchor points later. Let me try to get this Y all at one shot. Bending this corner, coming in, making that hook. But I won't be able to see it until I zoom out and take a global look at everything. Hit enter to commit to my path. And with all this I gotta do, I'm just gonna switch over to my direct selection tool. Gonna draw this back. You see that Y is gonna look a little short, but let me get this one first. I like how this part of the Y completely ended up. Don't like this too much. So I'm gonna pull up here, give my R a little bit more character. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit, get a little closer to that original design. And now let's zoom out and see if we have that graphic right. This looks pretty good so far. I like what we have. All right, now that we have our text drawn out, we're gonna need to create the backboard. These neons need to live inside the acrylic piece that we're gonna be cutting out with the CNC. So right now, here are my tricks. There's a couple ways to skin this, but me, this is how I do it. I'll copy everything by holding Alt drag. Now I have a copy of every single thing. My trick is, if you started with a 5.5 millimeter stroke width, you ended up with a 15.59 point stroke width. When I see this, I end up just adding 120 points. Otherwise, if you're at millimeters, that's what it looks like. You can just add 120 points. And that's what that gives you. Now that's gonna look good for my backboard. It's gonna give us space to put our drill holes for our standoffs or our chain links, and it's gonna give us just enough structure so that we can complete our neon sign. Now, your CNC is not gonna recognize these outer values. They're only gonna recognize the stroke paths. So we need to get these stroke paths and turn them into the actual object's bounding area. The way to do that is by expanding the stroke value. I'm going to Object, Expand. There's no fill, you can leave it alone, but we're expanding the stroke at this time. Now you notice it's an entire group of objects. I'm going to use my Pathfinder tool to unite all of those objects. And all I need to do next is unite these two words, because we don't want two floating pieces of acrylic for one neon sign. I'm gonna take my pen tool and I'm gonna draw as best I can a connecting area and then unite those two together. So let's do it. Let me zoom in a little, pan to put what my focus area in the center of the screen. Now if you notice, when I hover over it, it's giving me that plus tool. If I click right now, it's only gonna add an anchor point, which is not what we're trying to do. I'm gonna undo that. Now I'm gonna hold down Shift and get to the object. Now we have an opportunity to just continue as such. I'm gonna overshoot a little bit of these areas because really I want to be here in this corner. I want to slide up because I want to disguise what I'm doing and be part of the object's bounding areas. Let's see how this looks. I hit my V key to get back to my black arrow tool. Now I'm gonna select both of these. I'm gonna unite that. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so I can see everything. I'll pan. Now I'm gonna select all of these. I need to bring this to the front so as to lay it down on top of this object. I'm gonna select all of these strokes. I'm gonna go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Usually I hit Command Shift close bracket, but that's all depends if you guys want to use your shortcut keys or if you want to navigate to your toolbars. I'm also going to change the stroke color to white so that I can see how these strokes are going to live inside my backboard. This looks perfect. Looks like we were successful in our first try. Okay, now I have to create ellipses. And these ellipses that I'm going to create is going to function as our drill holes for our standoffs. Our standard standoff has a 9mm diameter screw area. That's where that connects to the wall. So what we need to do is on all 4 corners, or as best as we can for 4 corners, add screw holes. So I'm going to use L for ellipse, or otherwise you can come here and choose your ellipse tool. I use the shortcut letter L. Now I'll click anywhere on the screen, and where the width and the height is, I want you guys to type 9mm. 9mm. Now you have a perfectly round 9mm diameter hole, ellipse. Now you have a 9mm perfectly round ellipse. I got to change the value from stroke to fill, and I have to make sure that I keep my eye on it because that little guy can get lost. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in here. Now, where is the best place to put these screw holes? You want to think about chains, and you want to think about standoff mounting. I like it right about there. As close as you can get to your corner, the better. I'm going to Alt and drag. That's how I cloned that ellipse. Alt drag. That gave me my second standoff hole. I'm going to do the same thing. I will Alt and drag this way. This is about the right area. Let me take a look closer. I want to be as accurate as possible. I want to have the same distance from the neon to the edge as best I can. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I usually eyeball this stuff, and you will too once you're on your 50th or 100th neon sign. Now, let's get to my 4th standoff hole. I'm gonna Alt or Option drag. I like this above the R. It's not that bad. I can go right above the Y as well. I'll go above the Y, just to stick to my rules that we want to be as close as we can be to the corner. I'm gonna select all 4 of my drill holes, as well as the backboard. Then I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool. It's this white arrow with these hamburger cloud looking shapes. Let's take this shape builder tool and hover above each of these ellipses, holding the Option key. I want you to click down. Thereby, it's going to be punching out those drill holes. Going back to my black arrow tool, and now your custom neon sign is ready to be taken over to the CNC machine. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Nick Gonzalez, aka Lex Neon, and this was the Hustle Factory. Stay tuned for the next part.